If you're at the point where you feel you need an engine compression test, you either are experiencing an engine misfire or you feel like your engine just doesn't have the power that it used to have. Hey, welcome to Gauges and Gasoline. On this channel we do vehicle repairs and custom accessory installs. In today's video we're talking about how to do an engine compression test and why. In order to figure that out, you need what's called a compression tester. This is what an engine compressor tester looks like. Now inside of your engine you have cylinders. So what is a cylinder? Cylinder is a sealed chamber with controlled openings, which is intake and exhaust valves. A compression test is testing the seals inside each combustion chamber. So we're checking the piston rings, we're checking the valves, and we need to know whether or not the engine has the ability to actually produce compression. If an engine can't compress air, then it can't produce power. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove your spark plug. So let's do that. Spark plugs are a window inside the combustion chamber that will give you an idea of what's going on. If you're at the point where you feel you need an engine compression test, you either are experiencing an engine misfire or you feel like your engine just doesn't have the power that it used to have. If all the spark plugs look basically the same, then that's okay. Other scenarios could be a spark plug getting gummed up from burned oil. It could have burn marks from arcing alongside the spark plug, or you can have like something like a damaged electrode. So you're also going to want to disconnect your ignition system. That way spark doesn't just have anywhere to go. You can also hold the fuel pedal all the way to the floor and it'll put the vehicle in what's called a clear flood mode. And what that actually does is turns off all the fuel injectors, so you're not spraying fuel into cylinders that you're not using. So go ahead and connect your compression tester to cylinder 1 spark plug hole. And we're going to start with cylinder 1. Now while you're spinning the engine over, do like a 5 count. You know, have it spin over, just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then kill it. I recommend getting a piece of paper to write your numbers on, and you know, label it like cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And I'll explain, you know, what you're looking for in these numbers toward the end of the video. Now I was considering performing a dry and a wet test, but I didn't have extra oil laying around, so we just did a dry compression test. Alright, so what you're gonna do is go through each cylinder, give a 5 count while you're spinning over, test each cylinder individually, and write the numbers down. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that we have all of our numbers, let's go over what they mean. You're looking for consistency. So if you have the same amount of numbers, like all across the board, they're pretty similar and close. I have 170, 165, 180, 182, similar, right? Then if you're like that all the way across the board, then your engine's probably good. It might be a little worn out, but it's still good. However, if you have like a 30% or more difference, like drop in compression, like I have cylinder 2, I have 88 psi, and cylinder 6 I have 90 psi. So that's like a difference of like a 70-80% difference in drop from all my other cylinders. If it's that much of a difference, you know, it's basically cylinder 2 and 6 is like 70-80% down on power. In order for your engine to run smooth, you have to have every cylinder with a consistent amount of power. You know, it all has to be pretty similar. If you got 1 or 2 dropped that far down, it's gonna run rough, it's not gonna run smooth. You're losing compression. Another thing you might want to look for is if you have cylinders next to each other that are low on compression, but the numbers are, they're both about, say 60-70% lower than all your other cylinders, and they're right next to each other, then you may want to check your head gasket, because your head gasket could be leaking in between the cylinders. So compression loss can either come from piston rings or valves being either worn out, broken, or even bent or burnt. And cylinder walls can also be worn out too, not creating a good enough seal. You can do further testing by performing a cylinder leak down test, which we're not covering in this video. So if there is a significant difference in the dry test versus the wet test, then chances are you have broken or worn out piston rings. In conclusion, with the results I have here and for the test I performed on this particular engine, in essence I have a worn out engine. Now if you find your engine needs just piston rings, you can't just replace piston rings in your engine and call it a day. At least not without boring or sleeving the cylinder walls. And honestly, if it's to that point and the engine's not running properly, then it's time to replace the engine. Now, depending on parts and labor cost, you should see whether it's more affordable to replace the engine or just have your engine overhauled. So that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this helps you to figure out whether or not that engine is worth saving or replacing under your hood. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you next time.